first City Council meeting, Dalwood Clifton Garden City Council, approximately 7 p.m. If you'll please bow your heads. Dear Lord, please give us the guidance to run the city in a manner that you see fit. Please oversee our citizens and our staff as they perform their duties. Please oversee our staff, our military, and our police departments as they perform their duties throughout the state and throughout the nation, and as they perform their duties overseas. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Chief, will start pledges?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, sir. We have a proclamation. I'll just sign it and read it out. Moving on to citizens' comments. Do you have any citizens like making comments tonight? Yes, sir.
Okay.
Oh boy, here's the trouble, guys.
No, just a comment from last night. It seemed to me.
State your name and.
Dennis Ferdinand, 3202 Sunset Oaks.
Thank you, sir.
It just seemed to me that they kind of threw this together very quickly, and they're hoping that they could kiss it in, and they went to do this property and didn't really consider a lot of other properties. And I felt like when they got to the environmental factor, we could do what we want. And I never heard of anybody else, including my neighbor, that had to do an environmental factor for his hot tub. That it didn't seem like it flowed. And when I asked them about what is this going to look like in 10 years, they said, oh, it's not going to be any difference in this and that, but they got a lot of land to expand on. And it just seems like they weren't really totally prepared with what they put together. That's about all I got out of the meeting. But they can do, the comment was from Dr. Gavassos, they can do what they want. That's where I got the kiss came in. And I don't know if lawyer-wise or whatever you all want to do can stop that or consider alternatives. But there is other lands that AISD has. We don't know if this is the best fit or not. No, that's just a personal comment of what I saw last night. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Any other comments?
Not regarding that, but
Oh, yeah.
I'm Mary Webster, 3301 Heavy Court, and I have about 3 things I wanted to address if I have enough time. First, I wanted to find out about the XTO fine. I'd asked you, Mayor Tedder, one time about that, and I understand, I talked to Ed too, I sent an email to him, that was tied up in court now, that they have contested that fine. I just want to know when that court hearing is so that I can go hear it.
Honestly, I don't know. They haven't said it yet.
Okay.
It'll be set here in a municipal court by
It's when the prosecutor, Craig Bishop.
when Craig Bishop shuts it. They wanted a jury trial,
Okay.
so they've requested that.
And they'll be down the road with other jury trials, so
Yeah.
it's kind of
It'd be
Down
slid in
into
there.
the summer maybe, or?
probably.
Okay.
I just don't have the information.
Check
I mean,
that.
I don't
See when that
get the
is.
court docket, so.
The second, there were 2 other things
Okay.
let me address quickly. One is the information you have over here on the Public Information Act that you're going to be discussing tonight. I know you may know this, but just for everybody else that's sitting here, City of Arlington has almost everything online that you can request, and maybe we could go to that in the future and make it a lot easier on your staff. I mean, they have everything from their agendas to their backups to their maps to their plans to everything. You can assess it very easily, and a lot of cities do. I don't know about Pantee. I didn't have time to check them. But I think that would be a good way to go in the future. And if you decide to, I read that from stem to stern today, and even if you go to a 36-hour minimum, which I assume that you probably do, but if you do that, I can ask my neighbor to get it for me. I called today my state rep, and they will get it for us. So the newspapers could get it, the state reps could get it for you if I can't get it. So anyway, it's just something you might know. You can go around whatever you might build forward here. Also, the ballpark was another thing, and I know that I must need my ears checked because I thought, and I was in error, that XTO was going to do the ballpark. And then I found out that, and I've talked to several councilmen, and they've all said, no, that's not what they said. And I distinctly remember at that meeting that they said they would rebuild the ballpark. So anyway, I found out we settled for somewhere between 18 to 20. I'm not sure. I've gotten two different figures there. And that ballpark is now in the $58,000 range. So I don't think a lot of people, citizens, realize that. I was playing golf with some ladies the other day out at Shade Valley from here, and they all said, isn't it great that XTO built that ballpark? And I said, that is us. So anyway, pass that information on to everybody. Thank you.
Any other citizens' comments? Yes, ma'am.
Olive Amy, 2705 Park Place Court. And Mary said it very well. I was also going to speak on the issue of having unlimited open records. So we're a small town, we know one another. I can't imagine that any single person would have an extraordinary number, and I've never heard the council even mention what the highest number is, but there are ways around that, and that is not going to be a problem. No matter what it is, you know, we've been concerned about things like the extraction of our natural resources, things like water bills and electricity used and charges for those things. And those are kinds of things that citizens would expect to know. And I agree with Mary that we should have those posted online. I believe in transparent government and open government, and that's why I like to come to these meetings. Open government's important to me. And I think that the council should make that important too. If something's missing, if there's a document that we can't find online or easily, then that document may be missing, and that is government business. That is your transactions here during the city council meetings, and I would think that that would need to be found immediately. It's missing for you, it's missing for us. We should be able to go and find it. So I hope that we will expand our online resources and everything and anything posted online for us to find, and that will solve the problem.
Any other citizens' comments?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing about, obviously, one of the agenda items. I'll say that.
Tell them who you are.
Oh, sorry. Paul Cohen, 3125. I'm doing enough.
Thank you.
3125 Sunset Oak Street. Okay. My question is, what's the official position on the things I hear here? Where do we go, or what do we do to understand our council's official position on these types of matters? Now, I'm asking because I truly don't know.
Okay.
So, can I? That's what I'd like to know. Where do we go to get that type of information? Our council's official.
Specifically, what are you?
Specifically on some of the things that were just raised here.
Public information requests?
If that's what they're called.
Yeah. Okay. Any other? No?
Thank you.
Yeah, I have
Okay.
comments.
Well, here, I'll address you in a minute then. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Pat Noonan, 3304 Elkins Drive. I've got a few items. I think it would be very helpful to all of us if the city would post on the website the actual board packages that you look at. Pantego does that, Arlington does it, Mansfield does it. I think it would be helpful to you. You'd have more informed citizens, and we could actually come here better prepared to ask questions, and we would have knowledge, and we wouldn't be wondering what's happening. And I think that's a really good governance practice that I would encourage someone here to adopt as an idea worth pursuing. I'd like to know what the budget is for the City Hall expansion. I've sat through, I don't know, several meetings, and I've heard it discussed, but I've never heard a number. I have no idea if this is a $200,000 expansion or a $500,000 expansion or a $50,000 expansion. I just don't know. I just haven't heard a number discussed, and maybe I've missed a meeting where it has been discussed. But it seems like we should know that we drew down more debt for the city last year to pay for this, supposedly, so I just think we should know the answer to that. Would like to know the status of the TCEQ permit application to retain water in Pappy Elkins Lake. I think we were in here January 27th. We talked about it. Hired Brad Castleberry and Friesen Nichols, and To my knowledge, an application has not been made for that. I know the state has finally accepted the final resolution. I think that happened about a month ago, and the clock is running. Now, officially, as of that time, it is running, so we have to either receive a permit or decommission the lake, one or the other. So I'd like to know where that stands. There's a water rate increase that's happened or happening. I think it was announced last council meeting. And the reason given was our cost of services have increased. So we're going to pass that on to citizens. I looked at the contracted services for the city other than water. In 2012 and 2014 are the same. They haven't changed. They were up maybe $8,000. The big difference is the water. So the city of Fort Worth water purchases have gone up dramatically. And I think you all know that. In 2011, the rate was around $2 per thousand. And by, I think, the end of 14, it was close to 3. Right at 3. So, and it was affected largely by a gigantic increase in the water that was purchased in 2011. So on average, we've been purchasing 160 million gallons a year, roughly, from Fort Worth for a decade. And that year it spiked to, I think Melinda's record showed 280 million gallons. So, and the rates, as we all know with Fort Worth, are affected by volatility. And so we had this gigantic spike in 2011, and we've been paying higher rates ever since because of it. So my question related to all of this is, where are we with the city of Arlington in the purchase of water from them? Because we talked about that in January, and I think we signed an agreement with the city to buy water at $1.90 per thousand. That would be pressurized and actually get to the top of the tower without having to pump it. So where does that stand? Question. The March 31st special meeting that was held. I got to admit, that one snuck past me. I've been checking to see what's posted here pretty regularly, and I never saw an agenda posted. I'm not saying one wasn't posted, but I know it wasn't put on the marquee out here. So that was a quick 7-minute meeting, and you only covered 2 items. Love to hear from whoever organized that meeting why that was required to be done in a special meeting. There were 2 items covered in that meeting. The city approved the financial statements for 2014, and they approved the minutes of a council meeting from 2012. And it seems to me, people are paying attention and have been watching. And so the perception when something like that happens is they don't want anybody to know about the meeting. Let's not cover these 2 items in a meeting like this. Let's have a quick meeting. So I'd love to know why the special meeting was needed for 2 items. That council meeting from 2012 is a real mystery. There's no evidence it actually happened. There's no recording of it. There were no minutes of the meeting until 2015. It's only because I asked for the minutes that the city said, oh, we don't have any minutes. Get some minutes. Let's post minutes. And they just showed up online one day. And, when we have council meetings, we write minutes from those meetings. And in the next council meeting, those minutes are reviewed by all of you. That didn't happen for that meeting. In fact, our city attorney, part of his responsibility is to review each board package before each council meeting. He gives comments on them back to Melinda, and somehow that meeting just slipped. Nobody noticed that 2 weeks before there was a meeting, special meeting, and we failed to produce minutes for the council to approve in the subsequent meeting. I mean, is everybody that asleep on this stuff, or is there some other explanation? The resolution, the single resolution from that meeting, was the approval of XTO's gas permit to put the gas compressor on the pad site. Most of you sat here in November of last year and said, yeah, I'll tell you about that meeting. Walter came and deceived us, showed us pictures of these little things, and now we got this big gigantic building. I mean, it's recorded. These minutes don't talk about any of that. They talk about, they don't even mention Walter. Walter's not mentioned as attending that meeting. And yet you all said he came here and talked to you. Misled you, as a matter of fact. The description of the enclosure, according to the minutes, was very specific. It was 18 feet tall, it was 41 feet long, and 21 feet wide. Well, that wasn't discussed. You all were very clear about that. It was going to be below the privacy wall. But yet the minutes say something very different. And you all signed those minutes. In this, you approved those minutes in that quick meeting in March. The perception is you don't want us to know what's going on, and that's why you do those things. Here's the most astonishing thing about all that. The resolution itself that came out of that meeting from 2012 has a very odd number. We number all of our resolutions. The first number is the year it was passed. The next number is a sequential number. In the January meeting, if there are 10 items voted on, there are 10 resolutions. This 15-1, 15-2, and it goes on and so forth. This resolution isn't a number. It's a number and a letter. It's 1235A. Well, 1236 was the next available resolution number to be used. It had already been used in the following council meeting. So we're supposed to believe that that resolution was written by Mr. Jeffrey back in 2012, and he used a letter. The letter A. Melinda signed it, Michael, you signed it, Mr. Jeffrey signed it. The dates that you signed it are not reflected on that document. So this is just, this is just beyond explanation. So I'd like to know why a special meeting was held. Lastly, just a quick comment on last night. I don't know how many people live up here. I know you all do. It's probably around 80 households-ish, give or take. Those people deserve your stewardship. They deserve your protection. You represent everyone. You represent me. I know you don't like it when I come in here and talk the way I do, but it's important to me to be in a transparent city. And I don't think we have that here. And I've been trying to change that for a year. These people deserve your protection. Every one of you knows you're going to destroy their home values. It's a given. It's obvious that that's coming. And because I don't know why, maybe because they live in the small houses that aren't worth much, they're not your voting block, perhaps. I don't know. Maybe they never vote. But I think we'd have a different approach here if the 6 of you lined up along that field. If you lived there, I don't think we'd be talking about this. I think there'd be another solution, another approach that could be looked at. I encourage you, for their benefit, to do that. I think it would be good for the city. We don't seem to have any qualms about hiring attorneys to do stuff. And so let's at least, for their benefit, try and prevent this from happening and ruining their property values. If they organized a class action suit for decrease in property value under the Texas statutes, I think the city's exposed to that, not the school district. That would be on us. And, get 80 people to throw in and get a contingency lawyer working on it. I would do it. But why not? If the city's going to impose that on them, then they need to deal for themselves. So that's what I have. Thank you.
Any other other citizen comment? Council comments. Molly, is there anything you'd like to?
A couple things. First one is, Pat and everybody here, I am no more happy about what's going in up there than anybody else. But if you'd listened last night, our state laws limit our power to be able to regulate that. I will assure you we're looking into ways that we can regulate it, but the normal ways, and if that were a private enterprise wanting to put that in there, we don't have the power to do that. So you got to understand that our legislators took that away from us. And we're working within what powers we have to see what we can do. And then I'll answer your question about the Arlington, because I'm sure council wants to know too, is Arlington is working, we signed a contract, we have an agreement to purchase water. All we lack is the infrastructure to deliver it. I've been working with Arlington to get an engineer on board to design that, and I got some information today. I need to work a little bit more with them, but we don't have the pipe yet. So all we got to do is get the pipe.
We used to buy water from Arlington in a pipe.
Well, that pipe is no longer active, and as a matter of fact, we're looking at reactivating that same pipe, but a bigger pipe and same place.
Becky, you have anything you'd like to?
As far as the water purchases, Fort Worth has increased our water cost. We buy the bulk of our water from Fort Worth. Between 10 and 13% each year for the past 3 years. They've gone up astronomically. They got to pay all their executive salaries and all their pension and everything else. So their costs have gone up quite dramatically. They do little tricks. 1 year they adjust this rate of use charge. 1 year they adjust the excess capacity. The high capacity day use, the high capacity hour use, these all have different rates. And all those are adjusted at the end of the year. So then they come back. We're charged an average monthly use fee based on our prior 3 years average. And we're charged that. It doesn't matter if we don't get a drop of water from Fort Worth or we buy 10 jillion gallons from Fort Worth. We get charged that fee. And because it was higher back several years ago, we're not getting charged as high a fee now. But that fee is all settled up at the end of the year based on the water rates, charges, the high use wet rate, high hour rate, higher daily rate. And they always adjust these every year. It's a trick they play, where they adjust the different rates. 1 year they'll adjust this one up 8%, and they'll say, oh, we're only adjusting the rate 3%. But then they'll do, 1 year they'll do the high capacity daily rate charge, and they'll adjust it up 20%. Well, it's only a small number, so it's not. This is the kind of thing they do to us. And I've looked at it for years and years and years, and it's sickening because it's just a farce. And that's why we're going away from Fort Worth. It's because and that's why our water costs are so high.
Yeah, I've talked to them about the water rates. Thank you.
And let me add to that. And it's going to happen to Arlington as well as Fort Worth. TRWD is building a $1.5 billion pipeline. And they supply the raw water to both Arlington and Fort Worth. They have to pay the debt service on $1.5 billion. So that's a big hit on water rates. So water rates will continue to go up, even with Arlington.
Another big cost is we got City of Fort Worth, you got Trinity River Authority, you got Tarrant County Water District, you got North Central Texas Council of Governments. There's another one I can't ever remember. And then we got a water conservation league we got to pay to put the dipstick in the aquifer to make sure we're not messing with it. All those bureaucracies accomplishing nothing basically other than delivery of water, which is what Fort Worth is doing. And all those increases in executive salaries and executive pensions have all increased those rates dramatically over the last 3 years especially. Like I said, 10 to 13% every year for the last 3 years.
Mary, we'll address the ball field in depth later on. I just want to add to the water situation, and to caution that we, no matter what we do with Arlington, we don't want to give up our connection with Fort Worth. And the reason we went to Fort Worth was because 30 years ago, Arlington had us in held hostage by water. That's the reason we broke that connection and went on our own with many other cities. And that's a situation I don't think we're not gonna get that much from Arlington, where we'll give up what we have from Fort Worth at a more secure. It may be a little more costly, but it's non-contentious. That's all right.
Well, I could go on for probably 35, 40 minutes, but I don't want to do that to you. As far as the budget costs of the city expansion, we really don't know. Matter of fact, tonight we're reviewing, I wouldn't say they're construction drawings, but they're drawings good enough to put out to bid to where we can get an idea of how much it's going to cost. In regards to last night's meeting with the AISD, we got educated, I lose track of time, 3 or 4 years ago, because the charter school wanted to do an addition to their school, and there were some things that they didn't do when they originally built the school that they promised they would do. So we were kind of holding their foot to their fire. This was before I was on council initially when the charter school was first put in. And basically, they hired a high-dollar attorney, and he came to this meeting and basically said that it's not his intentions to intimidate us, but it's a school, and they can do whatever the hell they want to do. And they're not to our architectural articulation, to how we lay out, now public safety, where we can control that, but they can do whatever they want to do. When it comes to the ag center, the proposed ag center, I met with the mayor, with Mr. Hogg and Dr. Gavassis, one-on-one on 2 occasions before they, without public meetings. They were just spinning the deal. And I said to them at that particular time, I said, okay, what if our citizens don't want this? And I believe it was Bowie Hogg that said, then we'll sell the property and do something different. That's what he said, okay? Am I correct, Mr. Mayor?
You are.
Okay. That's what he said. And so, starting yesterday, it was more of a, I'm going to say from their side of it was more of a driving force. And one thing about being involved in city government, and I think most of the citizens now within Gardens, is that over the years we've been pushed around by Arlington, and we really don't like that. So if it's something that can be tossed about in open sessions and everybody can give their comments and this, that, and the other, then I think something can be, we all can feel fulfilled. But when somebody starts cramming it down our throat, but they apparently have the ability to cram it down our throat. That's what legal told us yesterday. So our next best hope is that they live up to their general thoughts and I guess the way that I felt about it initially, because the mayor and I, we started talking to them, a year ago, I guess, that they came and met with us, and but I think all along, when they've had these congealed meetings with us, they've always known in the back of their mind that they can cram it down our throats if they want to. And so that's pretty much the way that it is. We learned the same thing with the TCEQ. We thought, well, okay, liquor stores would be good over here, but we don't think they'd be good over there. Well, if the way the TCEQ is written is
TABC, I'm sorry. TABC is that if you're, no further away from the front door of the church, no further away from the school, you meet the proper zoning restrictions, you can stick a liquor store wherever the hell you want to. And there wasn't anything we could do to block it. Nothing. Because we thought we had the power to do that too. Okay? So as we go along, there's learning experiences, and basically from the charter school, unless we can, and I don't know how much money you want to spend on lawyers, but I mean, it's not exactly a school. There are animals there. There is going to be a time, my office is by Camp Thurman, and I've been fighting traffic there every day since 1979. And no matter how hard the people at Camp Thurman try to control the traffic, there's nothing more dangerous than a mom in a Suburban picking up the kids, okay? And they're going to drive across my yard, do whatever they got to do to get their kids to beat somebody else at the gate. In regards to the special meeting of 3/31/15, let's get him the information, and let's find out, what, because, like Mr. Noonan, I've talked to you privately or out in the parking lot or whatever, but there's not any, honest to God, there's not any secrets up here, okay? There could be mistakes made, there could be something that slipped, but there's no secrets. And I believe that. If there's secrets up here, I don't know about them, okay? And I think I'm pretty much in the know. But we all thought the same thing about the Al Taub when he was mayor. And once I got into office and we looked at everything, quite frankly, he didn't do anything wrong. And but if there's any secrets or if there's any information that's being withheld or secret meetings or anything like that that's going on, then I'll be the first one to stand out there with the bottle. I'll help you light the pot of oil to put somebody in it, because I don't believe it. It doesn't go on, and so. As far as the ball field costs, and this is the last thing I'll say, I got a longer list than that, but as far as the ball field costs, what XTO said they were going to do initially was basically put the ball field back into the condition that it was in before they got there with the frac tank. And so we, as a city, stepped it up, thanks to thank you, Mr. Snodgrass, for leading the way to actually getting it done. But we've put in, our city's put in a really nice ball field. And it's so nice now that I'm concerned of people wanting to come from, I don't know where, to want to play baseball there. But that was, I guess, the city's, because the main thing, after being on council for 8 years, and planning and zoning for 2 or 3, I forget, but is that people really care about the park, and they want to see improvements made to the park, and I'm all for improvements made to the park. So we, took it from, kind of a crappy little deal to a really nice first class, and that's why the cost went up. But XTO never said they were going to spend money to build a facility that we currently have. That was a decision that we made on our own. And if I'm wrong on that, y'all correct me. So I appreciate your time. That's it for me. Is it long enough?
Plenty long enough.
Okay.
I'll be as brief as possible. Just for clarification purposes, dealing with AISD, the information, the meetings that I've had with them, and the meetings that we had publicly, we discussed with them, hoping that they would live up to their expectations. I got a call yesterday before the meeting from Dr. Cavazos that said their attorneys have advised them they do not have to live up to any zoning requirements. Our attorney is confirmed with that. We kind of knew that, but they have come in here, they have said they will do all these things. The legal aspect of that is trying to get an agreement with them that they will sign and approve by their board. And if they will do that, you know, at least we can hold their feet to the fire somehow. Other than that, we don't have very many legal options. I believe there is a statute that you just brought up also that if the property values are declined by a certain dollar amount, that you could validate that. There is some documents that are out there online that also validate that building a school facility does not decrease the values that much. There are some state cases that have already been heard. We've reviewed that. There is an option for a class action. As a matter of fact, Mr. Jeffries mentioned that. He said the citizens could do that. We could join in or do something in order to do that, even from our standpoint. The location of that, somebody brought that up, was also discussed. We tried to get them to go to several other locations. We asked them to go to several other locations. I offered to have our city try to buy that piece of property from them in the discussion so that we would not have that there. It's not like we just turned our nose up and said, hey, we're just going to have this cranked. We've tried to do other options. I've also gotten in some discussions about maybe having them buy some other people out. And I talked to the citizens last night that lived there that said, hey, you know what, I'd do it. Buy my property out. Maybe put a thoroughfare through there that connects to Arkansas that would give them access in and out, that would, you know, improve that area that we've got street repairs the city's got to pay for. There are alleyways that the police department and fire department cannot even maneuver in. And those aren't the responsibility of the city. Those are the citizens. A lot of people are rental properties over there. They're not upkept very well. And they really just don't give a crap. And that's another issue. The citizens that have lived there for a long time, you know, hey, we do look out for them. We do have their interest at heart. At least, for surely, I do. And I've discussed it with them, and I've looked at other options. I don't have a perfect solution, but I am working on whatever I can to get it done. The City of Arlington, AISD, does have a lot of authority. Unfortunately, it's a governmental entity, and we don't have control over another one. So I can't make them go someplace else. I can't make them do other things. Bottom line is, if they're going to build there, we need to find a way to work with them. And if we don't, we're going to have something out there that's going to be really ugly and not facilitated with our departments, our police departments, and coordination of our businesses that are on those locations and traffic and everything else. So, got to try and work with them the best we can. We can try to encourage them the best we can, but I don't think we have any control over stopping them. I mean, it's my personal opinion, but I will keep and continue to do whatever I can to do that. So, just for the record. Anybody else?
Anybody know anything about the permit for the water?
The
for the light?
TCEQ application? I do not
know.
have any information exactly where that's at. I'm sorry.
Right.
Jim, do you know?
I don't know the status.
I know some stuff is filed. I will check on that and I'll at least get you an email.
Be great, thank you.
Moving on, departmental reports. Chief?
A couple of fairly large things have happened recently. This past Saturday, we were about to have training to have all of our firefighters be pump operators on the fire engine, and there was a structure fire just about a block outside of DWG that we happened to have about a dozen people here, and we're one of the first on there. There were 7 people transported from that fire, 4 of which we worked the patients on. It was one of the duplexes over here on Ventura. There were smokers and oxygen users in the same place, and I only found today that the Era mattresses in the residence, they didn't want to blow them up, so they filled them with oxygen.
Oh my God.
And so it was quite a fire, but the guys did a heck of a job and got there and worked very well. And as of last hearing, all of the patients are alive. We transported 3 more patients that lived in the neighborhood were transported later, trying to help people smoke inhalation from that. But it was originally called in by one of our students coming to class, saw the smoke from that fire and tried to get in, and it was too hot. But firefighters were on quickly and got everyone out alive. And so they did an excellent job. And we had also, we had a string of burglaries about 8 weeks ago, and we did not get a good response. We ran pictures. One of the residents had video in their house, and we had pictures, but when we ran those through the news, it was when we were having all the floods and got no comments. Nobody called in. Last week we ran them again, got about a dozen phone calls. We've identified who they are. Jeff was up and interviewed one of them yesterday and got him identified. Then through talking to him, found out who the second person was, and now we've positively identified them. One's in jail and the other one's on their way to jail. And so all of the string of burglaries, it's some drug addicts from up in the Hearst area that were down here going through things. And a lot of people helped us, and the guys just kept digging until they finally got them. So.
Anything else?
No, that'll.
Okay. Well, you want to cover your report?
Budget should be at the 75% mark in June. General revenues are 93% of the budget, and expenses are at 82%. Sales taxes are up 4% from comparable payment last year, and the percent of total payments changed to date compared to the last year's 8%. Ad valorem collections are 100% complete for a total of $833,019 to date. Collections reported for June 2014 stood at 99% complete this time last year. General operating expenditures are at 77%, public safety expenditures at 85%, public works expenditures at 83%, water revenues are at 61%, and expenditures are at 59%. I have 2 open building residential new builds permits right now, and that's 6 Garden Lane and 2 Garden Lane. The rest I can cover on the streets and everything on that.
Okay. Somebody like to make a motion regarding the departmental reports?
Move approval.
I have a motion for approval. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Moving on to item number 4, minutes of June 17th and June 23rd, 2015 council meetings. Somebody can make a motion regarding those minutes?
Move approval.
I have a motion for approval. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Moving on to item number 5, City Hall expansion. Mr. Homer, sorry to delay you so long, sir.
No. Just for the citizens, why it's taking a while and why we don't have an accurate number. There's a whole process that we've had to go through. First of all, this is a very unique project. We have the police department, we have the fire department, and we have the city administration all under one house. Trying to meet the program needs and complete the design, and then also get it within the area of a buildable footprint. We've developed that, and also too, with all the rains, we have a very good design team. We have a very good structural engineering firm out of Fort Worth. I try to get Tarrant County people on this project, since this project is in Tarrant County. What took a while is with all the rains. With the trying to get geotech reports, I've delayed the reports as to my structural engineers until we got this. We also completed the drawings. We took them to a point where we could get pricing. We didn't want to complete the whole design so we can get it out to bid so we can get an accurate cost. And based on this package, we can get a cost. We didn't want to complete a finished project and bill the city. That does not make sense. That's not good tax money use. Because if we see where we can build and what the city can afford, great, we can complete the step. Based on the pricing, we can also determine whether we have to step back and see what we can build. One of the big issues that the existing city hall has are the air conditioner units. Those are the big thing. When I was out here with my mechanical engineers, these rooftop units are old.
Very old.
It talks about some of the issues y'all talk about heating. So what we want to try to do is create an efficient building within a affordable budget. We're not going to extreme fancy materials. we're trying to make this your building, a utilitarian building, and go from there. So I believe that the drawings are at a point where we can get an accurate cost without having to take it all the way through. So, like I said, we feel confident that the package is where you can take it, whether you get a cost and determine where we have to go on the slim fast diet. Hopefully we do not, and go from there. So that's why the process has taken a while. So, like I said, trying to accommodate the users in this, the people who are going to use this building, and go from there.
So let me ask this: who sends these to who, or do we have to publicly list this to get bids? We have to publicly put them out. Perkins will go through. Okay.
Yes, and also too, I am available to talk to all potential bidders. That's part of my job.
Okay.
And to explain the process and what the scope of work is. So my job is to bring them in.
So, in your opinion, these are good enough now for us to actually put them out for official bid on a thing?
Yes, and I've got my reports from my engineers, what it would take to finish the project. We're virtually about 75% construction completing. And that's basically, the final loads of where the rooftop units are, final details and all that. We just feel comfortable that this is at a point for pricing. We didn't want to take it all the way through and then bill you and then have to go back with this. We didn't want to do that.
And or if we make any
and I am
small
listening to your
changes.
needs, and we do have we have the availability to accommodate every final design and everything else. So, and trust me, I'm pricing carpets out. I mean, pricing carpet details. Keep it very simple, very clean. Nothing fancy.
No
and
carpet.
plus, this is your building, and the goal is we believe that this building can provide a lot of flexibility for community use. So,
Okay.
and you're welcome to ask me any
They
questions.
should have an inside track on getting permits approved then, so that's
Yes.
a good thing.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And I'll be honest, it's been a very unique project. Like I said, you have 3 major users in under one roof, and that's been the
Any
challenge.
council have any questions, Ron?
I've got a couple.
And then also too, if I may add, and I've also been using relationships that the city already has. I've been using Dick Perkins for the civil engineering, and also too, the geotech report was referred by Dick Perkins to use this engineering firm, CMJ Engineering. So I've worked hard to try to use people that you have relationships, because why
Yeah.
reinvent the wheel?
Absolutely. Thank you, sir. Go ahead.
Mr.
What's
Lowe.
I haven't seen the soil reports, and
I'll be glad to forward that to you, and yes.
Okay, thank you. But I noticed you're putting carton forms in, and the soil in this area doesn't really, I think, dictate carton forms. Is
Okay.
And then I've not ever seen carton forms with piers that weren't bell piers, and it's just odd to me that. All the soils around here, it's pretty good stuff as far as all this goes. And I don't, carton form slabs are the most expensive slabs you can put in. And my old, joke to me is that when you do carton forms, you're not really sure, the engineer's not sure whether the building's gonna go up or go down. So they put in carton forms. And that basically the soils report that you had done for the boring recommended carton forms.
Well, to answer your question, I'm not the structural, and like I said, it took us a while to get the soils report, and I put once we got the report, I put the heat on our guys to get going on this. But I can definitely address the question to my engineers on that, on your concern. And that could be a line item, and that's also could be a line item for the pricing as well. Okay.
Yeah, I would echo that same thing. I mean, the building we're standing on is slab on grade.
Okay.
Almost if you walk out here, every house you look at slab on grade.
Okay.
And my house is literally not moved in 15 years.
Okay.
I mean, I don't have a single door that catches.
Okay.
You're lucky. So, I mean, I think this is a bit of a big overkill.
Okay. Well, like I said, we are approaching this as a commercial building. I mean, this building has had several several metamorphoses. You have concrete, you have wood construction. We're trying to create something, and also it's not a sprinkler building. It's not, based on the occupancy that we've established, based on your codes, I've designed you a building that does not need fire sprinklers, okay? But you have the option to add that. So that was one of the challenges I've had. And based on the construction type, that was kind of what dictated that. But if you please, I'll definitely be glad to relay this to the structural engineers. And that's a point taken, yes.
Yeah, but I think you've done a great job based on the information that you've been given. And so I think we've got enough here to put this thing out to bid to get some field numbers.
Right. The big challenge from my mechanical engineer that he stated that, the thing that, we have the new expansion, you're also going to have to do your new air conditioners. I mean, he said some of them are pretty old.
Well,
and I've been on the roof up there.
Yeah, and the roof is not.
And the roof. And that's the big thing too. And then also the skylights, And then also too, like I said, my role in the bidding is to be involved and talk to them and actually come out here with the prospective bidders that these are the issues, this is what the wish list is. We also want you to prepare a line item budget. What we want versus what we can have and all that. And then it's up to the city on how we go forward.
I think you've done a great job.
And to be honest, merely the expansion based on historical data, we kind of have some ideas, but we believe that with competitive bid, we can get where we need to be. And I'll raise that question in regards to foundation.
Yeah.
Would somebody like to make a motion to have Mr. Perkins send this out for official bid?
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much, Howard. Greatly appreciate it, sir.
Thank you.
Good, thank you.
Bolt anytime
And
you want.
I typically don't talk nice to architects, but you're not a bad guy.
Yeah, okay.
Moving on to the baseball field. Would you like to embellish, sir?
Well,
Embellish?
at this time, the baseball field is complete as far as construction goes. Done all the soil work, the bases have been laid out, and the hydromulch. What's ongoing is a sprinkler system running 4 times a day to get the grass to germinate.
Surveys.
And the area they call the skin, between the baseline, the area between the baselines, it has some grass that's determined to live that's coming up, and we're in the process of getting that rounded up. And hopefully, over a period of time after we've killed everybody who wants to come up, that should be grass blast. That should be not that much of a problem. A little history to start off with. XTO, when they came to us for the proposal to use the ball field area for the water tank, they did not propose to rebuild the ball field. The agreement was made that they would restore it to the original condition. And in that agreement, we got some bids, and we had a figure of $18,000 from them. Now, in actuality, the restoration back to what it was originally was quite a bit less than $18,000. So, we dealt with 3 different contractors for the project, one being Summit Supply, who furnished the bleachers and benches for the dugouts, and then a local fence company, DFW Fence, who was we took bids, and they were the low bidder on the fence. In the design, speaking of the dugouts, if you haven't walked it, we kept the back of the dugout, instead of being closed for the players, we opened that up so people could come in there and sit on the bench, and they're right there on the lake. They can use, it's a multi-use situation where anybody can walk in there and sit on the benches, and they still have access to the back of the lake. We also put in bleachers, and my idea when we were purchasing those, that although at this time they're bolted down, the people who poured the concrete bolted them to the concrete, but that is, they can be unbolted, and if we have an event in the park where we need bleachers, we can come in there with our front end loader, pick them up, and transport them over to for movie night or day with the law, if we need to. Okay, aside from just the ball field, the whole project grew to what was needed for irrigation. If we were going to hydromulch, we needed to water, and so it was deemed more just as much cost effective to go ahead and put in sprinkler heads to keep the grass in the infield of the ballpark growing, as opposed to having our guys run out there and run sprinklers. So we had the irrigation on the ball field, but we added irrigation along Elkins and up to this, almost to the City Hall and out to Roosevelt. We've got the final tabs, invoices in, and they're as follows. The bleachers and the benches cost us $2,700. The fencing was, and the backstop was $7,300. The ball field dirt work and the irrigation on the ball field was $20,848. The cement work for the bleachers and the dugout was $3,300. So that came to a total of $34,163 minus the $18,000 that XTO paid us. So we got the new ball field for $16,000. Now, when we expanded the project, council deemed that we should replace the chat trails, so that went up by the ball field out to the playground. And trying to keep in budget that we had determined in council, we took the sidewalk from the existing concrete here in front of City Hall across the bridge, or to the bridge, and then picked it up on the other side, and to the there's a triangle intersection there, and just a little part goes past the playground. We did not extend. There is a portion of the chat trail that goes from just the other side of the bridge up to the parking area, which we did not do at this time. So that remains to be done. That sidewalk portion was $20,000. To irrigate this area along from Roosevelt down to the sidewalk in front of City Hall was $12,000. So if you add the extra sidewalk and irrigation and the sidewalk and the irrigation, I'm sorry, to the cost of the ball field, it comes out to $48,203 thereabouts. The cost of the whole project. The only other thing, and I had an idea that came to mind when I was doing this, was putting in a drinking fountain out here across from the ball field. And what I had in mind was, I remember as a kid going to, Fort Worth Park, and they Forest Park. They had old sandstone brick, sandstone and mortar drinking fountain. We are stubbed out for a water line in that area, but I don't have a price on that or a bid. The people who did did the landscape said that they had a CMID guy who could do that. So if that's something anybody else approve?
I was just making sure you're gonna say something about that.
No,
You just out there spending money without permission.
If we tend to get an approval to do that, I'll price that out, or if you want to give me a budget, I'll tell them to do it.
Don't just for the drinking fountain structure and then that's it? Like the rock structure and the
Yeah.
foundation for it? Okay.
Yeah, the rock structure. What do you want the breakdown?
No, I was looking for, I had
I'll give you
notes
that.
that I was taking, I know, but I think somebody
I'll
picked
give you
mine
that.
up.
I
had
carry
notes
extra
in the
just
back
for you.
home.
Yeah,
I think it's in the,
Yeah.
that's the only thing that we have to do. We were given, I initially had those a couple of gentlemen who worked with the Little League for years, maintaining their ball fields, and they helped me get ideas along the line, and they donated to the city a home plate and some metal inserts that we put into the ground to mark, hold the bases. In designing the ball field, I learned a lot the past few months. The different spacing from T-ball out to adults ranges from 50 feet out to 90 feet for distance from home plate to first. So where do we make it? And then on the pitcher's mound, softball girls, they don't use a pitcher's mound, and but boys and adults do. T-ball wouldn't. So we made compromises. We don't have a pitcher's mound, but we have a large enough circle that extends far enough back to where adults can use it to throw from. They just don't have a mound, and it's flat, so softball players can use it, and they don't feel uncomfortable. We put the grass line at for use of 60-foot baselines from home to first, with the idea that the 50 feet is T-ball, and little kids that their feet aren't big enough to really tear up the grass. They'd be running in the grass, and so it would be acceptable, and it wouldn't hurt the infield. So that's why if you look at the skin, it's larger than you might expect. That was trying to accommodate as many people of different types of ball playing as we could.
Well, I appreciate you doing all that you've done very much, taking the lead on that and getting that done. And it's hard for me to say that to you, you know that.
I know that. It's hard for me to accept that.
I think, God, I think you've done an excellent job. And I also appreciate all the hours and hours of time.
I'm glad you're taking your retired time and spending it wisely.
Yeah, well,
I don't think there's any motion for that. It's just informational.
yeah.
Any approval or anything.
Unless y'all want to give me your comments on whether you want to put a drinking fountain. I'm guessing maybe $2,000. Yeah, I don't know.
2 to 3. Got the foundation.
Basically building a mailbox.
I have the spigot I'll donate.
Oh, we need one.
Yeah, it's brand new. I won't say where I got it back in my teens, but I have a brand new.
Well, if you got in your teens, it can't be that new.
That's a good one.
Somebody,
Well,
you want to make a
so I'll
motion?
move that we allocate Mr. Lowe, 3,000 would be enough to. we allocate
Absolutely.
$3,000 for water drinking fountain.
Parks and Rec. I have a motion. Do I have a second? I have a second.
Aye.
Vicki? All in favor? There we go. Moving on to item number 7, road improvements. Mr. Perkins is not here. Melinda, you want to?
Yes, we went out for bids on the miscellaneous street improvements, which would include some of the repairs that Mr. Cohen was interested in. No one responded to the bids, so we had to rebid it. So it will. The bids will open on July 29th, and Mr. Perkins has gone out personally and tried to get some interest in it. So we.
When's the money have to be spent by?
I'm sorry?
Then, wasn't there a certain time frame to utilize the funds?
Oh, no, not for the, no. That's for the bond package we have for City Hall improvement. We have 18 months to allocate that or do something. But this is the issue. When we have small repairs, it's not as easy as you'd think just to go out there and say, I'm going to put a public bid out there and get Joe Blow to come in here and do it, or I'll call whatever paving, and they'll come in and say, oh, I'll just do that for $5,000. Great. If it's low enough, we can do that for some things. But
also, this time of year they're all busy, so you know
people are swamped.
So we're like low on their priorities.
But may I ask a question? Just because
Sure.
my impression
I'm
was one of the problems was that the original plan wasn't going to work, and Mr. Perkins' plan to fix it right was an expensive fix. So I'm kind of confused when you say
the very first one it was, yes. The first time that he came back, he was going to repair the whole section, recurb it, and do everything, was his initial assessment on it, just going out there. And it was really expensive. And it was just a single project that we didn't have an allocation for, and it was a year ago. I mean,
I know.
it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
And so when we came back, we kept it on the books for something to do. And we finally got them to go back out there and figure out a reasonable amount to be able to get it done and to package it with something. They originally did get a bid, and that bid was way more than we ever would have expected for the first improvement. I mean, when he did the assessment on it. So I think he assessed it and thought it would be $20,000, and we got the bid back and it was $80,000.
Okay.
And he was like, this is ridiculous, because it's a single bid.
Have we talked to Prime Landscaping? You know, because they did all the concrete work on.
Yeah, but
he has a
he's
large
not
crew.
city bonded. I mean, he has to be bonded and everything. so-
Streets.
But
You sure he's not? Sorry.
Pretty sure.
I don't know. We just have to put it out for public bid. But I can tell him that it's out there. That it's been published.
How much do you think it was going to be?
I'm sorry?
Perkins had estimates on it. I think it was $70,000 for all. We had for several projects. It's not just
Oh,
one.
I thought we were just talking.
No.
There's
There's
several
several.
projects included.
Yeah.
I know.
So we had that one, the EV court, the
In front of Coolidge's house.
Coolidge is down there at the bottom of the hill where that washed out. Okay, so there is actually no motion on that. That was just kind of informational, kind of.
But to tell you, it will be bid out again the bid opening is on July 29th. So we'll have some kind of answer. And they have picked up packets this time. We had a bid opening this morning on the cracked ceiling. I did get 3 bids on that, and they range from $37,000 to $93,000. So Mr. Perkins will take a look at that, and we'll have something for you after he reviews it.
He's got to go back on. That's a huge discrepancy.
I don't have anything. He's been working with the county on the bridge, pulling the bridges and the roads. And
What about Seaton, whatever that road is?
Seaver
Is Arlington.
Is Arlington.
Still
But
nothing?
they met this morning and as well, and they are going out for bids on that.
Is that the storm drain repair?
Closing up Seaver.
Okay, moving on to item number 8, the storm drain repair. That's the one.
Yeah.
So let's get the differentials on that.
On Courtney?
Yes.
Yes, I think we can take Courtney off of here. We had Prime go out there and clean it up, and we found a problem with one of the homeowners there had put in some flagstone down in the bottom, and it's about 6 inches above the water line. So it was blocking the water, so we didn't want to take out their stuff, so we just put it down to grade. Seems to fixed it, looks real good right now. And homeowner's happy, so.
Is this in the Hemming strips?
No.
This is the one back at the end of Courtney Court, the end of Roosevelt to the right.
Yeah, the one in Hemingsford, Mr. Perkins has been working that, I don't know where he is.
Okay, dokie, so no.
But Courtney is probably a dead issue at this point.
Okay. We'll take that one off for next agenda. Moving on to item number 9. Mr. Jeffries, would you like to?
Yeah. This proposed ordinance is authorized by the Texas Government Code, and the ordinance, if it's adopted, allows the town for anybody who makes open record requests that require 36 or more hours of time in a fiscal year to charge the actual expenses that the state allows to be charged without having to go through a couple of extra steps that we would ordinarily have to go through, and without having to impose the state allowed charges only for requests that trigger 40 or more pages. And I've heard comment tonight similar to what I've already advised, which is there's ways around that for people who wish to go around it. But since staff is already tracking virtually all of the requests that they receive, it doesn't impose any additional burdens on staff. And I think that sometimes when requests are made, that sometimes we're seeing similar requests, or I should say we're seeing certain requests withdrawn when the requestor is given information that they're entitled to get, and we're not trying to hold something back that a requestor is entitled to get, but there's also certain things that we are allowed to hold back, and there are certain things we are required to hold back. And I have recently, just because of the burdens that staff has been facing, inserted, here's what we're giving you. Here's what our next step will be if you want us to request an Attorney General ruling, for example. And here's what I kind of estimate that's going to cost the town for us to protect information that we think we're entitled by law to protect. And sometimes it's a few $100s, sometimes it's a lot more than that. And basically, for point of clarification, if you want us to make that request for the information which we are withholding, we'll do so. But if you want to withdraw the request to the extent of confidential information, and I try to explain in general what the confidential information is, so far every time I've done that, the requestor has not requested that we produce confidential information. So they're getting information that we're allowed by law, that we're required by law to give them, that we're not trying to withhold. In a couple of instances, I've given them redacted information, which means somebody on my staff or city staff goes through and covers up the stuff that we're either allowed or required to cover up. But you get, like, my legal fee bills. You're not entitled to find out what I advised my client on a matter of legal business. But I can see, and there have been comments tonight about the things that I either do or maybe should be doing, allegedly, I'm not. But the bills that I have produced with redactions, it'll be the actual bill, and I'll have like a phrase covered out that says, here's what I told whoever asked my opinion. And so I've used my bills as an example because there have been some recent requests for that kind of stuff. And then sometimes we have to hold back personal cell numbers, cell phone numbers, personal email numbers in certain circumstances. And so the stuff that we give, when we give it to the requestor, along with what I hope staff is making a reasonable estimation of, here's what's withheld and what it's going to cost us to ask for an Attorney General opinion. Like I say, so far each time we've done that, the requestor has reasonably said, okay, I'm not seeking the other stuff. Since we're having to track that information anyway, the thought is state law allows us to recover only a limited amount of expenses. And currently the limited amount of expenses is defined as $15 per hour for staff time plus overhead, which is 20%. So that translates to $18 an hour. In general, the staff that has to respond to those requests, when you take in what they're paid, if you hourly factored it, plus the overhead, benefits, etc., it's considerably more than $18 an hour, and the city by law can't recover that. And as a rule, the city can't recover what they pay me to do what I have to do in connection with requests, and I currently charge $175 an hour, which is actually lower than I charge any of my other clients who are not city attorney clients. And the going rate for legal fees, if you saw what it costs to run my one-man law firm with support and staff, and a copy machine that costs as much as some people's nice pickup trucks, you would understand that I'm not getting rich at that rate or the rates I charge for other work. So the idea is state law allows us to adopt this kind of ordinance. We're tracking that information anyway, and so this is yet a tool that sometimes I checked with other city attorneys that I do work with, and they sometimes hire me as outside counsel on projects. And the idea is sometimes people who ask for stuff, for whatever reason, we're not allowed to ask why you're asking for it. And frankly, I usually don't care. Sometimes when they see the burden that's imposed for asking something, they either withdraw the request or narrow the request. So it's a tracking tool. Yeah, there's loopholes in it, of course there is. But it's a tracking tool, and it will give the town the opportunity to recover more of its out-of-pocket expenses faster. And I'm not aware currently of anyone who has, in a fiscal year yet, gone over the 36 hours, but that hasn't been tracked very closely before now. So that's what the ordinance is. It's a tool allowed by state law that, with loopholes and end runs you can do around it, but it basically gives us the opportunity with what we're already doing to potentially recover a little bit more if a particular individual who is being tracked, we're tracking everybody, we're not singling anybody out, puts staff through more than 36 hours of work in a fiscal year. And think about it, 36 hours is not even a full work week. So that's what the ordinance is. No magic behind it, no ill intention, and it's exact. In fact, if anybody looks at the state law it's derived from, which is cited in the proposed ordinance, this ordinance is almost verbatim. There had to be some grammatical changes because we're not a state to make it fit, but it's virtually verbatim what the state allows us to do. Is that long-winded enough?
That was long-winded, sir, but it's all right. I'm glad you gave the explanation. But in addition to, I will also make a clarification. This isn't trying to single anybody out. We also have other people that are requesting information that's taken a lot of time involving our police department and having stuff redacted that is obviously has to go through the Attorney General and giving us the ability to recoup some of those fees that we are forced to send stuff through, and other things. And I'm sure we're going to be getting a lot more of those here in the future. So there are other avenues that this is not trying to single out anybody or trying to do anything to anybody. And yes, we do realize there's obvious ways around it. But if it's somebody that's really not supposed to be doing what they're doing and they're just harassing, it does give you some little bit of ability to kind of control that. So, would somebody make a motion regarding the ordinance?
I don't think it has a number.
It doesn't have a number. number yet. He'll number it after we get it.
I don't number.
Coach, okay. I move approval of the ordinance.
Adoption of the ordinance authorized by current government code section 552.275. You motion for approval? Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a second. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I'm saying we've had this discussion, Jim. I think it's pretty much a waste of time to do it. Anybody can circumvent 36 hours. I think it is important, though, that we do keep track of the time spent by staff, so that if we do see that this is a problem area, like you said, nobody has exceeded that 36 hours that you know. Of course, we haven't been tracking it. We just started that, I don't know, a couple months ago. I don't know when exactly. But I think it's important that we track it, and then maybe come back and look at that and see if this is an ordinance we actually need. I know we spent a bunch in legal fees and for Jim's time and everything regarding a lot of things that have to be reviewed before they can be given out in a public information request. But as a whole, I'm not in favor of the ordinance. So I just think it's a waste of time right now. I think we really ought to look at it and study, see what the hours are, maybe over the course of a year, and then if it is a problem, then we come back to this and say, okay, we need to help do something to help recoup the cost that is costing us. That's my opinion on it.
Well, I agree. I hate over-regulation. And I think a city that operates with the least regulation, the more free flowing is that more serves the constituents, and it helps the city run better. That being said, we've spent a lot of, we've been paying our lawyer a lot. I didn't mean it to be critical. We've had some burdens with time that staff has been putting forth on sometimes silly things. So I just see this as a tool in the first step, and it may not be anything that we will ever use, but it's there if the need arises.
Well, can I speak?
You may, sir.
Okay. Some of the citizens have mentioned tonight that they would like our website to be more updated and have more information on it. And we're very limited staff here. This council is incredibly frugal, maybe too frugal at times. But if I know in my own business, I get off into the little things that somebody requests of me, and instead of focusing on the big picture, I'm diddling on something to make somebody happy. And I think that maybe more time could be spent by staff to update, cities' websites and that sort of stuff, instead of looking through boxes of documents that occurred 6 or 7 years ago. And or we can hire more people, and we got to pay for that. But we have limited staff. I mean, Melinda, as far as open records, what is there, 3 or 4 people possibly, including yourself? That
There's 2 actually.
2. Okay. Well, then if we're digging around looking for something in 07, 06, 05, whatever, and they can spend the whole day, and we could be doing other things that would be more beneficial to the citizens than just wasting our time.
We've always operated on, Delaware Gardens has been a very frugally run city, and we've been a training ground for police department, for other people. We don't compete head to head on manpower and salaries, and the same with our staff. We try to operate with as little, just what we need to keep the taxes down, to be stewards of your money. And the time that we've been spending on open records requests have been considerable. Sir, I don't have the, but are you, Mayor?
Just a thought.
Surely, sir.
This is the age of EDI. My job is to electronify, get rid of the paper. Is there a reason the city council doesn't consider bringing in a firm that can digitize that paper, put it into a server that if you ever need to recall it, you can do so in 2 seconds or less, like that?
Just been the expense, basically, and the time.
Well, I hear we have expense and time here. How much more is it?
I've tried to do that in my own business, and I don't have the time to do it. Because, to go paperless, I don't think you, honestly.
No, you hire someone that comes in with scanners.
I don't think you can totally go paperless.
In the healthcare world, government regulations say you cannot store paper in any doctor's office legally today, or you will be fined. The world can go, we are in the and I don't want to make this, we're in the 21st century. There's no reason to put pen to paper or to search manually for documents. There's absolutely no good reason. You go out to bid for a lot of things. I don't know if you've ever gone out to bid for this in today's environment. There's a lot of companies out there that do this type of work.
I'll disagree with you because I deal with the IRS and they won't pay for documents. They don't, anybody can make this document up on the computer. That's what I've been told by them, and they won't pay for it.
Healthcare had the same consideration.
We did. We worked hard. I worked in healthcare 16 years.
But they
scanned it all in and we made it.
It
works great.
So my point is just, anyway.
So I would love to just, and I'm a document freak, but I would love to just, go to files, hit that folder, and instead of having to go upstairs and dig around, and I'm halfway there, half and half, but I've learned that I can't totally go.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. I have a motion for approval in a second. Any further discussion? Okay, speak up, sir.
Okay, one point I think was brought out. I think we do need to look at what we can have, at least in terms of contemporary, current information on the website, and make more information available to our citizens easier from the website. Now, that said, I find all the ordinances are on the website. There's a lot of stuff there. I think I'm inclined to agree with Mr. Pepke. I prefer to defer on this and not enact it right now.